Assalamu alaikum, NBIC community. I hope everybody's doing well on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. Welcome to our second NBIC cooking show, Ramadan edition. We have a special guest for you today and an amazing program. But before we do that, a few announcements, because you know at NBIC we can't do anything without a few announcements. We had a very eventful weekend from the curbside iftar to the kids slate program on Friday night. And then the late program for the community last night. So be sure to tune in to all our programmings. Go to nbic.org Ramadan section to stay up to date. A couple other reminders: the prophetic iftar in a box is tomorrow, so place your orders by tonight. And then join the 30-day challenge for our fundraising efforts for NBIC. We're past a week into Ramadan, so be sure to join that. So let's get started with our cooking show for today. I wanted to welcome our special guest. She is a familiar face with NBIC. She was a winner of a comedy show a couple of years ago for our Eid program. And she was also a lead actress in our Earthreal program for last year when we did that for Eid. So she is a familiar face. We know that she is funny. We know that she can act. But the real question today is, can she cook? Welcome, Ghazla. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Thank you guys for having me. It's such an honor and it's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
How are you doing? How's Ramadan going?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. It's a blessing as always. How about you guys?
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. We miss seeing you. We miss seeing everybody. But let's get into the cooking show. Tell us what you're making today.
So my family loves Asian. The kids love Asian food, and that's one of the things we've missed, I think, is just doing like a quick takeout or something like that. So I have really honed in. I always was kind of dabbling in it for the kids, but I think now that we've had more time, we've honed in on doing a lot more Asian. So today I'm gonna do it's called a 4-pepper steak. It's my kind of take on a pepper steak that you would see in a Chinese restaurant or like a Thai restaurant. And then I had some extra vegetables and I made a manchow soup, which was pretty quick. And it was a good way to get in veggies for the kids. And so it was easy. And I said, you know what, let me just add that in too, because sometimes you want a nice hot soup during iftar. And it's a good way to get in, some nutrition as well.
Yep, exactly. So I have to ask the viewers, I should let them know that Ghazla and I are good friends, so I know I can ask this and she won't get insulted. So your husband is Palestinian, correct? And yes. You are Indian.
Yes.
But you guys love Asian food. How does that happen?
I don't know.
Arab Desi household should have some fusion of Arab and Desi, but you guys love Asian food.
I don't know. Sushi's like, if I could cook sushi, I'd probably have to be making that every day. My kids love sushi. It's just something, I don't know what it is. I don't know what the element is. I couldn't tell you, but we definitely do more like veggie stir fries and stuff like that, which I don't mind a lot because I feel like I can incorporate a lot more vegetables. But we do have a couple of Arab dishes here and there, a couple of Desi dishes here and there, but, and then you throw in the regular like American fare. Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't answer that question for you. I have no idea how that happened.
That's awesome. So is this one of your own recipes? Did you come up with this yourself? What was sort of the inspiration?
It's a little bit of a couple of recipes that I saw on different websites. And like I said, I just added in a couple of things that I would have tweaked it just for my taste. Like my kids sometimes like a little bit spicier, so I added a little more pepper. But I say that during the video that you don't have to add in any extra pepper if that's not your spice level, But so there are 4 different types there's like a bell pepper and then 3 different types of actually spiced pepper that I add in. So if that's not your thing, you don't have to do it. You can just leave it without spice, but that's how I tweaked the recipe.
And I know we have a bonus round with a soup today. So we have the 4-pepper steak, like you mentioned, and the manchow soup. Is soup something that is great to break your iftar with, something warm?
Yes. It's really good. I know I had a Chinese acupuncturist who, when I explained to her about iftar and how we fast and Ramadan, she was very particular about always opening your iftar with something warm, that your stomach has been in a state of, fasting all day and you shouldn't shock it with something that's cold or really oily or frozen. And she always said the best way to kind of ease back into eating is to have a nice warm soup that's nutritious, obviously made with good ingredients and, you know, quality vegetables, or even like a bone broth, but something that eases your stomach back into the digestive process. So that's why we try to do a lot of soups during Iftar. And I know some cultures, like the Arab cultures, they like to really start Iftar with soup. And I think that's really beneficial.
Yeah, a lot of cultures do that. Yeah, and it feels actually really good. You feel good after having something warm. Awesome. So let's get to the demo. Just remind the viewers that in the description box we actually have the ingredients and the actual recipe for the 4-pepper steak and the manchow soup. So if you guys need to refer back to it, you can do that, and you can comment after the demo. We'll ask some more questions for Ghazla, but let's get to the demo now.
Assalamu alaikum NBIC and Ramadan Mubarak. Inshallah, you are all enjoying this blessed, beautiful month of mercy. I know we're all sad that we can't get together in person, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been so merciful and generous and has given us these virtual opportunities to get together and meet up with each other multiple times during the week. You're usually used to seeing me on stage doing a comedy routine or dressed up as one of the characters from Ertugrul. But this quarantine has really brought out one of my hidden talents, which is short order cook. And as you know, if you have kids and you're quarantined, most of the time making meals can seem like you're a contestant on Chopped, just trying to figure out how to put stuff together within a short period of time with whatever's in the pantry. So today, we're actually gonna do 2 easy meals that are big hits in my home, and there's never any leftovers. Based on my utensils here today, you're gonna see that our theme is an Asian dinner. And the key to good Asian cooking is to have all your ingredients ready, your sauce is ready, and the cooking actually goes really fast. And our first meal for tonight is gonna be an easy 4-pepper steak. For today's ingredients, we're gonna start off with a pound of beef for stir fry, 2 bell peppers cut up, or the equivalent of 2 bell peppers. Here I used 1 big green pepper and a couple of small red, yellow, and orange bell peppers. We're gonna have a small onion cut up. You can put a bigger or medium-sized onion if you prefer. 3 to 4 cloves of garlic that are roughly chopped, and we're gonna have some green onions.
Preview.
For the meat marinade, we're going to have 1.5 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1.5 tablespoons of a vegetable stock, 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and 3 teaspoons of cornstarch. For the meat marinade, we're going to mix in our ingredients and whisk them together. Into that mix, we're going to add in our beef and make sure that it's well coated. Our stir-fry sauce is going to be a quick mix of the following ingredients: 3 tablespoons of oyster sauce, 3 tablespoons of a vegetable or beef broth, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 1/2 teaspoon of dark soy sauce for color, 2 teaspoons of white vinegar, and 2 teaspoons of sugar. For the pepper element, we're going to put in about 1.5 teaspoons of ground black pepper. I like to add 1/2 teaspoon of white pepper as well, and 1/2 teaspoon of red chili flakes. You can always adjust the chili based upon your preferences to more or less. For this recipe, I'm going to be using my wok, but you can use a big pan as long as you have enough surface area for the beef and the vegetables to cook evenly. You don't want the beef to kind of stew in juices. If the pan is too small, you want it to be able to get a nice char on it, okay? We're going to add our 2 tablespoons of oil to the hot pan. And once that's heated up, we're going to add in our garlic. And our onions. And we're going to let that start to cook a little bit. Okay, I've moved my onions and garlic to the side. I don't want anything getting brown. And for that, we're gonna add in the beef right now. And we're gonna try to quickly spread it out so that all the beef is touching the pan and you can get a nice sear on it. And you're gonna notice that the cornstarch is gonna allow the beef to get glossy and kind of that tender taste that you find when you go out to restaurants for a pepper steak or a beef stir fry. Once you see that your beef is almost done cooking, we're gonna add in our green peppers and our colored peppers actually. And we're gonna mix in and let that cook together for about a minute and a half. To this, now I'm gonna add our pre-mixed stir-fry sauce that we already mixed before. Give that a good toss. And you're going to see that you start soaking up the sauce, but that it also starts getting shiny and glossy and looking really nice and juicy. Now we're going to plate the food, and we're going to add some green onion as garnish on top to complete and enjoy. Our next item is going to be a manchow soup, which is technically kind of like a hot and sour soup, but it's full of veggies. And it's really easy to make, and I couldn't help but include it in because it really only took 10 to 15 minutes to make it from start to finish. So enjoy. We're going to use the following vegetables for this quick manchow soup. A cup of mushrooms, about a cup of carrots, a cup of shredded cabbage. I used coleslaw mix, about 3/4 of a cup celery. I have here about 4 cloves of garlic chopped and about a teaspoon of ginger chopped mixed together, and green peppers chopped up as much as you want in terms of spice. You don't have to add if you don't want, and about 2 to 3 tablespoons more if you like of green onion. We're also going to require about 5 tablespoons of cornstarch and about 5 cups of any type of vegetable stock or chicken stock or beef broth, whatever you feel comfortable using. For the seasoning for our manchow soup, we're going to have 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of white vinegar, 2 tablespoons of some type of chili garlic sauce. We're going to have about 1.5 teaspoons of black pepper, and I have some white pepper as well, and salt to taste. The first thing we're going to do is make this cornstarch into a slurry by mixing it with some broth. I'm going to heat up about 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil, and into this oil I'm going to add in the garlic, ginger, celery, and also the green pepper, and we're going to let it cook until the garlic's nice and brown. Once our garlic is browned, we're going to add in our cabbage, our carrots, and our mushrooms, and we're going to let everything cook until it gets soft. To this, we're going to add our salt, pepper, soy sauce, and chili sauce. Now we add our broth. And we wait to bring that to a boil, which should happen relatively quickly. Now that it's come to a boil, we're going to add in our vinegar, and we're going to add in the cornstarch slurry that we made earlier. And we're going to mix this all in. And again, we're going to wait for it to come into a rapid boil and to thicken up so that it gets that nice consistency. It's not runny, it's not watery, it's a little bit thick. And after that, we'll do a taste test to see if salt and pepper is to our liking. Now our last step is going to be to add in our spring onions, and here's where you also taste test for your salt and pepper. Time to plate and enjoy, And as you notice, I ran out of chow mein noodles, so I just used pita chips for that extra crunch. Thank you all for joining us, and inshallah, we will see each other soon. Wait, someone's at my door. Let's go check who it is. Oh, let's see who it is at the door. Oh my, it's Curious George. Hi, Curious George. Are you here because you smelled the iftar that I was cooking? Oh, George, I'm really sorry, but we're social distancing and I can't have you inside. But if you really want, you can go to NBIC for curbside iftar. That's going to be really yummy. Okay, happy Ramadan, George. Assalamu alaikum.
Thanks, Ghazala. That was great. It looks so yummy. That Curious George, he's interesting. He tends to show up at all our NBIC events.
He loves NBIC.
I think when we remember Ramadan 2020, it'll be a year of quarantine, but we will also at NBIC remember our mascot now, Curious George. I'm glad he was wearing a mask and social distancing, but a little concerned. I think, him showing up, I might have to report him to our executive director at NBIC.
I think that's a good
he's
idea.
Not coming to everybody's house. That was awesome. So thank you. That looked extremely yummy. I loved how you said that you feel like you're a contestant on Chopped when you're cooking for the kids. I can completely relate to that. Having 3 kids myself and being at home right now and trying to figure out what to cook. You're trying to see what's in the pantry and trying to put something together.
All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome, salam.
How are you doing, Azad? I think we lost Sadia there for a moment.
We might have.
Some sort of an internet connection problem. She'll be joining us shortly. But wonderful dish. I was just watching. I was wondering, and I think maybe Sadia was going to hit on this. So my kids do have some peculiar sometimes tastes. Is there for the soup? Is it necessary to use mushrooms? Does that add some extra flavor to it?
No.
Some other vegetables?
I think you can use whatever you have on hand. I think now everyone kind of feels that sometimes you have stuff in your fridge that's not getting cooked right away, or you can't get your hands on stuff, even if you order it, let's say from delivery. It's hard to get the ingredients you would normally have gotten if you just ran into the store. So for me, I think this vegetable soup is just a good way to use up maybe anything. You could probably throw in peas or corn or anything that's, that would be more to your liking. It's just a soup. And cabbage is probably more traditional and like an Asian form of it, and carrots, but you could really use any vegetables that you prefer, anything that you'd like to throw into a soup.
Is there a substitute for oysters? Oyster
sauce, yeah, that's what Sadia was asking me. So the oyster sauce, it does give a unique taste, but I was looking up, there are people who take sometimes hoisin sauce if they have that instead, or they'll take soy sauce and mix in a little bit of sugar, or even mix in Worcestershire sauce. I'm not sure how to say it correctly, but there are, if you do Google and you don't have oyster sauce on hand, they do come up with a couple of different variations and substitutions that you can use for oyster sauce. You might not get the exact taste because it is a little bit of there is a little element also of like a thickness to it. So you might get a little bit of a different taste, but you could definitely find things that you can use to substitute for oyster sauce.
Sadia, have you joined us again?
Yeah, sorry about that. There's some technical issues and
no problem. I was just following up about the substitution for some vegetables for the soup and following up about the oyster sauce.
Awesome.
You can take it away from here.
Yep. Ghazala, what about some meats? Can you replace it with chicken?
I think you could do chicken. I think you could marinate the chicken the same way. You probably would have to just cook it less, but you can definitely do chicken. And I don't see why chicken wouldn't be just as good. But pepper steak is just kind of like that famous dish, right, that people usually like. But chicken, I'm sure would be fine. I don't know about shrimp. Maybe you could. I don't know if you'd have to marinate it with cornstarch and keep it, but you could probably just stir fry it in with the rest of like the stir fry sauce and the rest of the ingredients. I think shrimp would be fine too. Shrimp and bell peppers.
And then what about allergies? I know there's, some people have some gluten allergies and other types of allergies. Any recommendations for that?
So if you're gluten gluten-free. Obviously, the soy sauce is not going to be gluten-free because soy sauce contains gluten. Many people who have gluten allergies already have some kind of soy substitute, so they can just use that. And other than the soy sauce, there isn't any other gluten in there. Cornstarch might be an issue for some people if they don't want to do corn, but you can also get arrowroot powder, which is a good thickener as well. You can find it. So cornstarch and the gluten you can kind of substitute out. And I think those are, and allergens in terms of food, you can always substitute any other veggies or meats.
Awesome. Well, it looked extremely yummy. I hope everyone is able to try that tonight or during the week. Anything else, Ghazla, from your end in terms of the recipe or the ingredients that you wanted to add?
No, just that, like I mentioned in the video quickly earlier, it's good to have everything prepped ahead of time. Like you saw that I had it prepped because the cooking element goes really fast. So with this dish and a lot of the Asian, any kind of stir fry dishes, it's always good to have everything just laid out and prepped out. And that's where probably most of your time is going to go. Once you start cooking, it doesn't take very long for everything to kind of come together. So that's my tip. And yep. I found that very helpful to have that in the past.
Yeah, it's all about the preparation. One other question that came through, does it have to be 4 peppers? Can you do a different number or can you add other types?
Well, the pepper, it's called 4 peppers because there was bell pepper and then the 3 spiced peppers. So you're only using, I think it was like 2 actual bell peppers in the meal. And then you don't, like I said, you don't have to use any of the other spice if you don't want. If you want to leave it just kind of like a salty, savory without any of the pepper, that's totally fine. You don't have
and
to.
And what is white pepper? You had that, I think, in both of your ingredients. Yeah. What is that? Because not everybody knows about that.
White pepper, you can get it in the, I guess it's just from a different type of peppercorn, but they use it a lot in Asian cooking. I used to remember using it like a long time ago. It's a staple. They usually use it in fried rice and stuff like that. It gives it a different taste. There are various peppercorns that are around, so there's like Szechuan peppercorns, which are really, really spicy and they give a totally different taste. And then there's white pepper and it gives a little bit of a different taste than the black pepper. And so everything has its kind of like nuances. And so for me, when I do Asian cooking, and it's literally, you can get it even at Stop and Shop, you can get it at ShopRite. It's everywhere, but you just get white pepper and it just changes it up a little bit. It is a little spicy, but it has a different taste.
It almost has like a tangy taste to it.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I think sometimes when we're eating it in a lot of restaurants, you don't realize it, but they've used it in there. And it's really delicious. So I always add it in.
Yeah. And so we have a couple more questions coming in. In terms of the broth, do you recommend the beef broth or does chicken or vegetable work just as well?
If you're doing pepper steak, I think I've used vegetable broth or chicken broth, whatever I've had on hand. And now it's kind of been difficult to get your hand on a lot of things. So vegetable broth is fine. And same thing for the soup. The soup is like whatever you're comfortable with. A lot of people make their own stock and they save it and they freeze it. And that's probably delicious and the most nutritious. But if you can't get that and you don't have time for that, then a vegetable stock or even like one of the, like Saffron Road makes a healthier version. I don't really like to use Maggi or Maggi cubes. So I just will get the halal Saffron Road or even just a vegetable broth that's already pre-made, that you can get your hands on. Any of those things are fine options.
And you served it with rice. Can you serve it with noodles or any other?
Yeah, I think you could put it on anything. I think plain noodles underneath would be really good too. And white rice is fine. Some people, like sometimes my kids just eat it plain without rice because it has the veggies in it and they're full. So they just, but you can serve it with anything. I think that's the good thing about these dishes is they're flexible and you can serve it any way you want and you can eat it alone or with something, or you can always adjust spices and flavorings as well.
Great. Well, before we end this session, thank you first of all for doing this. This is amazing. It looks very yummy and I can't wait to try it. Just a question for you. What do you miss about NBIC and Ramadan at NBIC this year?
Aside from missing the people and just the connections that you see and you feel, I definitely miss the ambiance of being there at night and listening to the Quran. And then sometimes, when it empties out, you have that space to yourself to pray. And, Qari is doing the nasheeds. It's just, there's something in the air. There's always something in the air. And even when you leave, I think you feel that there's something in the air about Ramadan. And there's something beautiful about being part of that community and sharing that vibe and that feeling with your community. And so for me, that's what I miss the most.
Yeah.
In NBIC. And I think no matter what you do at home, like being at home has its own beauty, but you'll never replace that. So
yeah, no, I completely agree. We miss seeing you, we miss seeing everyone, but inshallah, this time next year, we will be together and in our regular schedule at NBIC. Thank you again for joining us today.
I hope everybody makes it, and tell us if you tweaked anything or if you changed anything. I would love to hear if you added or took out or what you did that maybe you think made it better, and take pictures and send it in to everybody so we can see what you did. That would be really awesome.
Definitely take pictures, save those pictures, because the next photo submission is going to be around your iftar. So all the different iftars that we're having at home, all the different cookings that you guys are doing with your family, save those pictures and we will have an opportunity to share that with the community. So thank you so much for joining us, Ghazla. Thank you for the viewers.
Jazakallah, and thank you everybody for coming out to the show. Alhamdulillah, and we hope that you take advantage of these opportunities to try new dishes with your family. It's one of the things that my daughter looks forward to on Sundays, is watching the show and figuring out how we're going to make that at night. So this is the second Sunday, inshallah ta'ala, we'll be doing that. We thank Ghazla for presenting that today. But really, we thank everybody for coming out this afternoon, and we look forward to iftar tonight. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Next thing will be 7 o'clock tonight is the reading of the juz, followed by our regular evening programs. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.